Responsibility is the moment your life stops being a story you watch and becomes a story you control. Most people don't understand this. They avoid responsibility like it's a burden. They think responsibility means pressure, stress, expectations. But the truth is, responsibility is the most liberating thing you can ever take on. It's the moment you stop blaming your parents, your environment, your past, your circumstances, and you start blaming yourself. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in the most empowering way possible. When you become obsessed with responsibility, you suddenly realize that every result in your life, good or bad, is a reflection of your choices. Your income is your responsibility, your health is your responsibility, your habits, your discipline, your mindset, your success, all on you. That realization is uncomfortable at first because it forces you to confront the truth. You are exactly where you deserve to be. And most people cannot handle that truth. They'd rather stay in denial, pointing fingers at everything except themselves. But the top 1%, the people who actually win, they run toward responsibility, they hunt it. Because responsibility equals control, and control equals freedom. If your life is your responsibility, it means you can change it. If your income sucks, you can fix it. If your discipline is weak, you can strengthen it. If your future looks nothing like the one you want, you can rewrite it. Responsibility gives you the pen. When I started taking responsibility seriously, everything changed. My work ethic changed. My focus changed. My standards changed. Suddenly, I wasn't waiting for opportunities. I was creating them. I wasn't hoping for a better life. I was building one. Responsibility became my obsession because it was the first time I felt in control of my destiny. And once you taste that feeling, you never want to go back. The truth is, responsibility is not a punishment. It's privilege. It means you're strong enough to carry the weight of your goals. It means you refuse to be a victim. It means you trust yourself enough to say, if this is going to happen, it's going to be because of me. When you become obsessed with responsibility, success stops being a dream and becomes an outcome. Not luck, not chance, just the inevitable result of a person who refuses to shift blame and refuses to settle. Responsibility is the foundation of real freedom, and the moment you accept it, your entire life begins to level up. Most people never reach their potential because they spend their entire lives building excuses instead of building skills. They convince themselves that their situation is unique, that they don't have the time, the money, the support, or the talent. And they repeat those excuses so often that they start believing them. But the marketplace doesn't care about excuses. The world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. Life pays you in direct proportion to the value you create, and value comes from one thing only: skills. Skills are the real currency in this world. Not your age, not your background, not your degree. Skills, the ability to solve problems, to think clearly, to sell, to lead, to build, to communicate, to adapt. These are the things that separate the successful from the average. And the crazy part, every skill you need is learnable, every single one, but learning requires effort, and effort exposes people. That's why most choose the comfort of excuses instead of the discomfort of learning. When I decided to build skills instead of excuses, everything shifted. I realized that making money wasn't luck. It wasn't a lottery. It wasn't reserved for some chosen group. It was the outcome of stacking valuable skills on top of each other. When you know how to market, how to speak, how to lead, how to create, how to close deals, how to manage time, your income becomes predictable. It becomes a byproduct of who you've become. But this is where people get lost. They say they want success, but they're allergic to boredom. They want results, but they can't commit to repetition. They want growth, but they run from discomfort. Building skills is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not a dopamine hit. It's hours of practice when no one is watching. It's making mistakes, failing, trying again, and repeating the process until you're competent, confident, and dangerous. People think success is about intelligence, but really, it's about consistency. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be the person who keeps showing up. You need to be the person who keeps improving even when it feels slow, even when it feels pointless, even when results aren't immediate. Because skills compound, and the day comes when what felt impossible becomes effortless. Building skills also forces you to confront your weaknesses. That's why so many avoid it. When you try to learn sales, you realize you're afraid of rejection. When you try to learn public speaking, you confront your insecurity. When you try to learn discipline, you meet your laziness face to face. Skills expose you, excuses protect you. One path leads to growth, the other leads to stagnation. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is simple. Successful people prioritize capability over comfort. They're willing to be bad at something long enough to become good at it. They're willing to look stupid, fail publicly, make mistakes, and keep trying because they know that every hour invested in a skill pays them interest for the rest of their lives. The truth is, excuses are free, but they cost you everything. Skills are expensive, but they give you everything. Every excuse you make today steals a piece of your future. Every skill you build today multiplies it. You have to decide which direction you're moving in. If there's one thing I learned on my journey, it's this. Skills make you self-made. Skills make you unstoppable. Skills make you free. When you have skills, you don't need luck. You don't need someone to save you. You become your own safety net. You create your own opportunities. You attract success because you've become valuable. So stop telling yourself stories. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop pretending you're going to start tomorrow. Pick a skill, any skill that moves you closer to your goals, and start building it today. Start messy. Start imperfect. Start scared. Just start, because the world isn't changed by people who had excuses. It's changed by people who had skills and the discipline to develop them long before anyone was watching. Success is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world. Everyone glorifies the finish line, but no one talks about the thousands of miles it takes to get there. People see the luxury, the cars, the lifestyle, the recognition, but they don't see the process. They don't see the quiet mornings, the lonely nights, the endless repetition, the sacrifices, and the discipline that looks painfully boring from the outside. And that's the truth most aren't willing to accept. Before success becomes beautiful, it is brutally boring. The problem is that society has sold you this idea that success is supposed to feel exciting every day. That motivation should be constant, that every step should feel rewarding, but real success is the opposite. It's a routine, it's predictable, it's unglamorous, it's the same habits, executed over and over again until they become part of your identity. Most people don't become successful not because they aren't capable, but because they can't tolerate boredom. They want motivation, not discipline. They want novelty, not mastery. Mastery is boring. It's repeating the same skill until you can perform it in your sleep. It's training when no one is clapping. It's making decisions that feel ordinary, but produce extraordinary results over time. It's choosing the gym instead of comfort. It's choosing work over distraction. It's choosing focus over noise. Success is the accumulation of boring, unsexy choices that compound into something meaningful. Look at anyone at the top of their game, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists. They all understand the same truth. The boring work is the real work. The training, the practice, the discipline, the structure, the schedules, the routines, that's where greatness is built, but the world only sees the highlight reel, so people chase the outcome and ignore the process. Success becomes boring because growth requires consistency, and consistency requires stability. You can't constantly chase excitement and expect long-term results. You can't rely on motivation because motivation dies the moment things get uncomfortable. What carries you forward is commitment, the willingness to do what you said you do long after the feeling you said it in has disappeared. But here's the part people rarely understand. Boring doesn't mean meaningless. In fact, it's the boring parts that create meaning. When you repeat something enough times, it becomes part of who you are. Discipline becomes your identity. High standards become your default. Focus becomes your strength. And that transformation is far more rewarding than any external achievement. The reason most people fail is because they chase excitement instead of purpose. They want success to feel like a movie. They want the soundtrack, the dramatic moments, the instant transformation. But success is built in silence. It's built when no one is watching. It's built in the hours that feel invisible. It's built when you show up even when you don't want to. These moments aren't exciting, but they are everything. And here's the irony. Once you embrace the boring, your life becomes anything but boring. The discipline creates freedom, the routine creates results, the repetition creates mastery. And eventually, what once felt painfully ordinary becomes the foundation of a life that looks extraordinary from the outside. When you understand this, you stop searching for motivation and start building momentum. You stop chasing instant gratification and start trusting the process. You stop looking for shortcuts and start becoming the person success naturally moves toward. Success isn't supposed to feel exciting every day. It's supposed to feel stable, structured, disciplined, and yes, boring, because boring works, boring builds, boring compounds. If you can learn to love the boring parts of success, you'll eventually live a life that others will swear was built by luck, when really, it was built by repetition, discipline, and the willingness to embrace what everyone else avoids.